Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be taking a look at heroic Sylvanas Windrunner. So a lot of people have been asking me to make this video, and I'm finally now getting around to it. So hopefully this is coming at a time where it will be helpful to you. Before we get started, I do want to say I streamed this on my Twitch, so if you're interested in watching me play live, right, then feel free to follow the link in the description below to my Twitch channel and give me a follow or whatever. Since this video was 11 days ago, so we're now 6 out of 10 mythic instead of 3 out of 10, but I mean that doesn't matter too much. So the next time I stream will probably be re-clearing and then killing mythic guardian of the first ones. So I just wanted to get that out of the way, and then the other thing I wanted to say is at the time of making this video I'm like 20 subscribers away from 2,000. So if you've been watching my videos and you enjoy the content, please hit the subscribe button. It'd be super dope if we could break 2,000, you know, within the next, hopefully as soon as possible, right? Within the next couple days. So if you've been liking the content, feel free to hit subscribe. Of course, you don't have to. I'll keep making the videos if you don't, but it would help me out for sure. And it'd be sweet to see the 1 turn into a 2, right? 2,000 subscribers would be dope. So, now that that's out of the way, the last thing I wanted to say before we start this video is this video is going to be pretty long. So this fight on heroic even is around 12 to 13 minutes usually. So if I were to just not pause the video at all, it would be 12 to 13 minutes, right? But I do plan on pausing occasionally to talk about certain things. So this video, you can tell if you look at the length of the video, but it's going to be pretty long. So that's just the forewarning. Feel free to play it at 2 times speed or 1.5 or whatever. Maybe that'll help get through it a little quicker, but I do want to be kind of thorough with this boss, seeing as it's the last boss in the raid. So I will be pausing a decent amount to talk about certain stuff. So on pull, okay, so before we pull, first thing I'm going to say is at the time of doing this, when we did this fight, I was still Night Fae. And at the time of recording this video, I'm still Night Fae, although that may change in the future. So if you're a Necrolord Shadow Priest watching this video, things are going to be a little bit different for you, although not too much different, because you don't change things too much playing Night Fae and playing Necrolord on this fight specifically. So that's just another forewarning, I guess. I am Night Fae in this video. So I'm playing Misery, and then outside of that, I'm playing all the regular single target talents. So the reason you want to play Misery on this fight is because, oh, and I'll also mention we lust on pull because it'll be up again in 10 minutes on phase 3, but everybody should be doing that if you aren't. So lust on pull, pop all your cooldowns, use your combat potion, which is not being tracked on these, but it's down here. You can't really see it though. So use everything on pull, right, as if this was going to be your only lust, but you will get another lust at the end of the fight. And then what I was saying is you want to use all your single target talents. The only change you want to make is you don't want to use Twist of Fate. You want to use Misery instead, because Sylvanas never goes below 50% HP, or it's like just a little bit below. So you get no value out of Twist of Fate. Twist of Fate doesn't start proccing until 35% HP, and Sylvanas never gets to that point. The boss fight ends before then. So you get 0 value out of Twist of Fate. And then your other options are Misery or Searing Nightmare, and Misery is just all around better, right? It'll save you globals because you just press Vampiric Touch instead of pressing Vampiric Touch and Shadow Word Pain. And then there's not a ton of times where you can use Searing Nightmare to get good damage on this fight. On the heroic version, I think there is an argument for taking Searing Nightmare on Mythic Sylvanas, especially with how grouped up the arrows are in P1, and then how much you need add damage in P2. Yeah, so pop all my CDs. I've only got 1 stack of this dot, so I'm going to try and avoid these chains. They end up going on me anyway. And then you'll notice I dot a couple of these domination arrows, but it's not worth it to try and dot all of them, because especially if you got 2 boomkins in your group like I do, the boomkins are going to kill all those arrows pretty quickly, especially on heroic when they don't have a ton of health. So you just maybe dot 1 or 2 of the ones that are really far on the outside, but otherwise you can just focus on doing single target damage. And then I emphasize the Veil of Darkness. That's what this countdown is right here. So she jumps away. I will mention, every time she jumps away, at least for me, I'm not sure if this is different for other people, every time she jumps away, I lose my targeting. So I'm no longer targeting her when she comes back. So what I like to do is I face towards where I think she's going to land, and I just spam tab, because then as soon as she's targetable again, I retarget her. So then I run out and, you know, start blasting again. Mindbender's about to come up here in like 10 seconds. And then, yeah, I'm just making sure I have all of my dots up on her, and then using my Dark Thoughts procs to move, and while I'm channeling, I do pop Mindbender as soon as it's up, because this fight is so long that it's not worth saving it for Void Form every time. And because if you were to save it, right, I mean, there's no real, like, crazy burn phases or anything, you know, so then, yeah, so I'm just getting as many Shadowflame Rift procs as I can. We get another set of chains, and then you'll see again, I dot maybe, oh, okay, so this set of chains, I just remembered. This set of chains, the second set of Domination Arrows, you'll have Void Form for it if you're not. So you use your first Void Form on pull, and then your second Void Form, you save it. And then usually what you can do is when these arrows come down, you target one pretty quickly that's in a group of arrows, and you press Void Form, and you'll use your Void Eruption on all of them, and it'll help kill them really quickly, and it'll put you in Void Form to start hitting the boss. And that's what I was trying to do right there. You can see I cast it a couple times on 2 different arrows, but the arrows died before I got it off. So now I wasted some time, right? Now I have to use it on Sylvanas instead. It's probably not super necessary that you get a Void Eruption off on all those arrows, but it does help big time. It's a pretty big burst of damage to all the arrows that you hit with it, and it'll help your overall, right? Because you'll get all that damage for you, you know, rather than letting your boomkins soak it up with their what's it called, Starfall. Okay, so now Mindbender is about to come up again, and PI is also about to come up. So I pop Mindbender, and then I think this is right before she phases. Yeah, it looks like this is when she's about to phase. So I should be popping. Oh no, I think I should be saving PI right here. Yeah, so I saved this PI. I did use that Mindbender, and then we're just going to finish off all these arrows. And then at this point, it doesn't really matter what you do, because there's nothing going on. So I just kind of stand here. I dodge lines. One thing you can be doing right here is helping to heal your allies, right? If anybody's taking damage or anything. But everybody's full health now, so there's no point really chasing Sylvanas around. She takes like 99% reduced damage. You can see my dots are ticking for like 10 damage, right? Which she's got 99 million, so 10 damage is like 0, basically, right? And then make sure you stop casting when that Banshee's Wail is going to go off. Everybody skips the cutscene, and that means you're in Phase 2. So in Phase 2, what we're going to be looking to do is have all our cooldowns lined up for the burn phases on the boss, and then outside of that, try to do priority target damage. So there are a couple different adds in Phase 2 that need to die quickly. There are some adds that can just die whenever, it doesn't matter too much. But there are other adds that you want to kill ASAP, right? So as a Shadow Priest, we do pretty good single target damage still. So what we want to do is, there are 2 times where Sylvanas is targetable and not immune, like you can see right here. And those 2 times, we want to have as many cooldowns up as possible so that we can burn her big time, right? And then when she's not targetable, right, when she is immune, there are a couple times where there are add phases, right, where you have to fight like a Soul Judge and a Summoner and a Goliath dude. And during those times, what I like to do is I just focus down one of them, whoever's the most deadly, right? And I don't worry about dotting all the other stuff until the most deadly one is dead, and then I'll work on the other elite usually. So another thing I'll mention, on these bridges, it can be, especially as a Shadow Priest, I've found, it can be really hard to see yourself. If you're a Goblin Shadow Priest, you're like super dark purple, so you're not very bright and easy to see, and you're super short, right? So that you've got big old Tarns running around, and so it's really hard to see your character model. So it can be hard to stay on these bridges just because you can't really see where you are. There are 2 solutions for this. So first, there's a toy that you can get called Personal Spotlight, and that puts a giant beam of light on your character that only you can see. So it's not going to make it so that everybody knows where you are, but it will make it so that hopefully you know where you are, and it's very, very bright, very obvious, hard to miss, right? So if you don't have that toy, I'm not sure where it drops. I just had it, so I started using it. But if you don't have that toy, Wowhead, I'm sure, can tell you where to get it. And that's a very nice way to keep track of your character if you're having a hard time staying on these bridges. And then the other thing I'll mention is you can also, I use a weak aura for this now. I don't use the toy anymore. I have a weak aura that puts a green X on top of my character, so I can just look, and it'll be on top of everybody else. It's part of my UI, right? So it'll be on the very top, and so I'll always be able to see where I am because there's going to be a green X there. I'll leave a link to that weak aura in the description below, so if you want to use that, it should just put an X right on top of your character. You may have to adjust the Y offset in the settings depending on what camera angles you use usually. But the way I've got it set up, I'm pretty sure it should be in the middle, like right on top of your character regardless. But you may have to adjust it a little bit depending on your character, right? So I'm not using it here, and I'm not using the Personal Spotlight toy. And if I pause right here, well, I guess this play button gets in the way, but if you look, it's like super hard to see where I am, right? I'm below all this moonkin and this guy with the wings, so it's like way hard to see me. So I've found that weak aura very helpful. Okay, so coming up, we're going to go across this bridge, and this is going to be the very first burn phase. I've got everything set up for it, right? So I've got PI, Mindbender, Fey Guardians, Void Form, everything. I dot her with Shadow Word Pain as we get closer, just so that I can be doing something as we move. She's now not immune, so I pop all my CDs, and then we're gonna blast right here. I re-up my Vampiric Touch right there. I should have done that before I got into Void Form, so I didn't waste the Void Form Global. And then, yeah, we're just going to do our single target big pumper damage, you know? So, not much to say about this. Just try to get as many Devouring Plagues, Void Bolts, and Mind Blasts off as you can. And then with this Veil of Darkness, it's very important that you dodge that. So, like I said, I have that emphasized for me in Bigwigs. So every time it's about to happen, I get a countdown, and I know that I need to be moving when that comes down so that I can get out of it quickly. And I like to stand over here. So you come across this bridge, and she's standing right here, kind of where she is right now. And what you need to do is there are like two strategies for this. So sometimes people will stay stacked up right on top of her, and everybody will blast, and then there will be a Warlock gateway. And as soon as the veil goes out, everybody takes the gateway. That's closer to what the Mythic strategy is going to be, because on Mythic, those veils are so big that it's going to be hard to just run out of them. But on Heroic, you don't technically have to do that. If you do want to do that, that's a good play. Just have everybody stay right on top of Sylvanas, and then as soon as the veil comes out, everybody takes the gateway out of the way, and then you can go back to blasting, right? But what my guild likes to do is we just come across, all the melee stay there. She's still immune for a couple seconds, so you've got enough time for the ranged to run out like this. And then as we're burning her down, the ranged will spread out here, so that when the veil comes down, there's several safe spots. People just run to them. And then also when the Banshee's wail comes out that just happened, everybody's already pre-spread, so you don't have to worry about everybody being stacked on top of each other or anything. And so what I like to do specifically is I run across, I dot her a bunch, and then I come to like right about where I am right now. And then when the veil comes out, you can just run along this chain, and the veil spawns on players' positions. So anywhere that there are no players will be safe after the veil comes down. So I just run to where there is nobody, which is way down this way on the chain, right? And then you should be safe. So this is about the end of the burn phase. So now you just got to worry about getting across the bridges. Now is a good time to be healing your allies, except for when you have to run like this. And then this coming up is going to be a Soul Judge. So there's going to be two elites in here. There's going to be a Soul Judge and a Goliath, I believe. And then a bunch of little dudes. I don't worry about hitting the little dudes pretty much at all. I just worry about hitting the Soul Judge. And I have a macro that I should be pressing here soon. Yeah, so I just pressed it. You can see I'm targeting the Soul Judge now pretty early on. It's got 99% HP still. So when you're doing this, The Soul Judge is very important to kill. It's called like a Moth Forged Summoner, I think. That one's also very important to kill. So I just have one macro, but you can set up 2 macros if you want. They're very simple. So you just type /target space the name of whatever you want to target. So I have mine down here on Control-Shift-2. It's just /macro. It's /target space Mawforged Soul Judge, right? And then as I'm running across and that's about to start spawning, I start hitting Control-Shift-2 a bunch so that as soon as it's targetable, I can target it, right? And that's like a little thing that you can do in Mythic if you're fighting this boss on Mythic, or even if you're fighting this boss on Heroic and this is like progression for you guys, you're an AOTC guild or something. If you're having a hard time killing this Soul Judge or having a hard time clicking on its nameplate in this like sea of nameplates over here, that macro, very simple to make. You just type /macro, you click new, and then in the macro you just type /target space Mawforged Soul Judge. And then when you're coming across here, you don't have to click on the nameplate or anything. You just press that macro and it'll target it for you immediately, right? Which makes it so that you get quicker uptime. And you could even have everybody in your raid do it. And you can make one for anything that you want to target. So you could make one to target Sylvanas. You could make one to target the Summoner, the Soul Judge, the Goliath, depending on what you're having a hard time hitting, right? So right here, this is when we have the Goliath and the Summoner, the Mawforged Summoner. I don't have a macro for this guy because I'm less worried about our damage to this guy. We typically had an easy time. And I made the Soul Judge macro when we were first doing this fight, and it was hard. But now that it's easy, it's not super important for us to kill this guy ASAP. It is important to kill him, but we don't have to be like super optimizing for that. So you could make a macro for this guy as well, and a macro for this Goliath, like I was saying. But I don't have a macro for this guy because, like I said, we outgear this pretty heavily, so I'm not too worried about it. It is important that you kill these bomb things before they detonate, but you can let other people do that. Shadow Priests are not great for that. If you are running like Searing Nightmare, then maybe you could be using Searing Nightmare here, but I highly suggest that you play Misery instead. And then during these moments where you have the ads, you just focus down the most deadly ad. So now I'm on the Goliath. Before I was on the Summoner, because the Summoner is more deadly than the Goliath. And then once the Summoner dies, you focus the Goliath. Once the Goliath is dead, you can really just ignore all the rest of the ads. And then you'll usually get a Banshee's Scream as you're trying to cross this bridge. A lot of people will just run onto the bridge and everybody spreads out on the bridge, but that's super sketchy. You can do that if you feel like your guild is good enough or your raid team. There's no problem spreading out on this bridge as long as everybody stays on the bridge, right? But there's way more room to spread out on this chain, right? So what my guild, at least on this kill, what we did is a couple people ran out there and started to spread out on the bridge, but the rest of us just played it safe. And you can see there's like plenty of room for all of us to stand here on this chain. And we're not going to be super behind. We all stand pretty close, pretty tightly spread. And then we put down a Warlock gateway right here. So one of the Warlocks does need to run ahead to put down this gateway. And then the rest of us should just be taking this gateway to cross the rest of the bridge. I have to click it like 100 times. And then I'm on the Soul Judge again. So you can see on this part, you've got a Soul Judge and a Summoner. And the Summoner is probably more important to kill because it summons these orbs. But the Soul Judge is also very important to kill. So you want to kill both pretty much evenly. But I already have a macro for the Soul Judge, so I just press that when I'm coming across right here. And then I focus down the Soul Judge, and I let everybody else focus down the Summoner. So that hopefully, the Summoner's dying way quick right here, and the Soul Judge is pretty far behind. So if I focus the Soul Judge and everybody else focuses the Summoner, both should die in pretty good time. So I did pop Mindbender pretty recently, which means it probably won't be up for this upcoming Sylvanas burn. Oh, maybe it will be. We got like 30 seconds. No, it depends on if... Yeah, I don't think it will be. So you have to dodge that veil, and then coming across here, this is going to be the next Sylvanas burn. I used my boss frame right here to target her. And then when we come across, I don't have PI for this. I think the last time I used PI was on the first ad burn. that was probably a mistake because I would rather have it here. Although if you use it on the first ad burn, it'll be up at the start of phase 3 or pretty close to the start of phase 3, which is when you probably want it more. So regardless, I think it's kind of sixes either way. I do pop Fey Guardians here. This is back when I was playing Naya too, because it was like 11 days ago, right? So we didn't have enough renown for Dreamweaver or Karain to be better than Naya. You need to make sure you dodge these Haunting Waves. It's way easier if you stand far away to dodge those. Mindbender just came up, so I hit it, and then we need a spread for this Banshee's Wail. And then what I will say is all of these ads that are spawning right here, you can ignore these. You don't have to actually kill them. So I may hit a couple of them just to build resources, to build insanity going into the next phase. But you don't actually, these guys don't have to die. So usually what people will do is just CC them. So Psychic Scream is really good. Psychic Horror is really good for that. And then, whatever other people have. You just basically want these guys to not be hitting people because your tanks don't have to pick these guys up. Your tanks probably are just going to ignore these. And then you have one global when you first get teleported to phase 3. So you should be focused on Sylvanas as you get teleported to phase 3. And then what I do for this one global typically is just press Shadow Word Pain, re-up my Shadow Word Pain on her. If you do have a Devouring Plague, that's a better choice. A Shadow Word Death is probably not a bad idea either. And if you're in Void form when this happens, which you probably shouldn't be, but if you are, you can Void Bolt her as well. You get one global to hit her. So this is, on Mythic, that's really important, but on Heroic, it's not such a big deal. Although it probably will help, right? I mean, it's free damage. You can hit her, so why wouldn't you? And then on this final phase 3, what we kind of do without really ever talking about it is everybody has like an assigned position on these platforms, where for me, it's like right around here. So every time we come into phase 3, I always run to this side of the platform. This guy always runs over here. This guy always runs over here, right? That way, regardless of what platform you're on, anytime you need a spread, you have a spread position. See, mine's right here. So anytime Veil is about to come out, anytime we need to dodge the lines or anything, I spread to this part right here every single time. And it's really good to get into a habit, to have like a routine that you do on boss fights. That's one thing that I think is underrated. Every time you do a boss fight, for the majority of boss fights, it's going to be very similar to every other time you've done the boss fight, right? So like I was saying, what I do is on Sylvanas, I think, okay, every single pull, when we get to phase 3, I'm going to stand right here, regardless of what happens. If I get an arrow on me, I'll take it out, and then I'll come right back here, right? Anytime there's a veil, I'll spread to this spot. And it's just good to have that kind of thing in mind, so that when these things do happen, right, when you do get to this boss fight, you can be like, okay, I know exactly where I'm going to be. It helps for muscle memory too. You can worry about other stuff once you've got your like positioning figured out. So in phase 3, when we first get here, I don't even have to think about it. I just know exactly where I want to be, and I move there. And then as soon as it gets covered by these puddles, right, I have to adjust a little bit. But every time I come into phase 3, I can be thinking about, okay, what mechanic do I need to be prepared for next? Okay, and let me pause real quick because I want to show how to handle this Wailing Arrow. I could be thinking, what mechanic do I need to prepare for next? When am I going to press Void Form next? When am I going to use my Mindbender next? That kind of thing. Instead of having to think about, okay, where am I going to stand? I just know exactly where I'm going to stand, so that as soon as I get into phase 3, I go there and I can think about other stuff, right? And it's not just a Sylvanas specific thing. You can do that for every single boss fight, right? So on Guardian of the First Ones, I always stand, the boss, let's say the boss is where this says arrow, I always stand like right here. Every single time on Guardian of the First Ones. It's just nice to get into little habits like that, so that so much of the game is just muscle memory at that point. I'm like, oh, this one thing is happening, I know exactly where I need to be, because I'm always there, right? Okay, so then this Wailing Arrow comes out, and the way you want to handle this is it'll go on a tank and then 2 other people. And what you want to do is the tank runs and jumps across, right? And then when this Wailing Arrow cast starts, as soon as it finishes on the first person, the second person, so the other two people should be standing on this platform still hitting the boss, right? And then when the first Wailing Arrow goes off and gets shot at the tank jumps back right after that happens, and the second person jumps across. So you'll see right here, the Wailing Arrow goes off, that guy jumps across, right? And then that guy will land on the other side, the arrow will go off. As soon as it goes off, here it is, you can see it's going across. The tank should be jumping back by now, by the way, unless he's cleaning up these pools or something. I don't really know what tanks do on this fight, but he can come back. He doesn't have the arrow on him anymore. So as soon as this arrow goes off, I take this teleporter, I go across. These guys should be jumping back. Oh, the tank is dealing with puddles. And then I come back across after it hits me to get a couple more globals in before that raise goes off. And you can also stay on that platform for a little bit longer than we do. The raise cast can finish, and you can stand there for like 0.2 seconds, 0.3 seconds before the stuff actually comes down that kills you. So if you're having a hard time killing this boss, that's one of the ways you can optimize uptime, right? So it starts casting a raise, you just sit there, you sit there, you sit there. As soon as it finishes, you maybe cast one more instant cast ability, a global, then you jump across. Okay, and then on this platform, I should do the same thing. I'm standing in this corner for this spread, and everybody manages to spread just fine. We all get silenced. There's nothing you can do about that. A veil comes out. You want to be standing away from your homies. And then I've got Mindbender up now, so I press it, and then I start to move towards my regular standing spot where this guy is. Oh, that's the other Shadow Priest stumble. And then, yeah, we're just going to focus Sylvanas down. This is a great time to be using your Vampiric Embrace. In Phase 3, you basically want to send Vampiric Embrace on cooldown because it does get pretty healing intense, and Vampiric Embrace will help with that. And then I'm saving this Void Form right here because we're about to go to the third platform here in a couple minutes, maybe 1 minute. But we're about to go to the third platform, and that's when we're going to Lust. So I want to use Void Form, Mindbender, and PI all at the same time once we get over there. I spread right here. You want to make sure you don't hit any of those puddles, so I was like in a really tight spot right there. And then you need to be spread for this veil so that you don't get hit by people like that, like these two guys just died. This raise is going off, so I'm going to stand here on the platform, and then I go before it finishes, but you can stand a little bit longer. And then now I've got all my stuff ready, so I pop everything, we hit Lust, and we want to go big time blaster mode. So I should be using my Ruby, there we go. And then, yeah, it's just full on, single target, burn the boss time. Don't worry about anything. Obviously, still do mechanics. If the arrow goes on you during this, you just say, oh, shucks, that sucks. And you go do it. Even though you're in the middle of all your cooldowns, it doesn't matter. You're going to wipe the raid if you don't do it. So just say, dang, RNG kind of screwed me over right there. My overall is going to look bad. I'm not going to parse, whatever. But at least you'll kill the boss, you know. So go do the mechanic. Definitely don't sit there and greet it, or else you're gonna wipe. Your guild won't be very happy, and they'll call you Boomkin Brain because Boomkins love to ignore mechanics while they're in their CDs. So don't be a Boomkin Brain. Be a smart Shadow Priest Brain and do the mechanics when you're supposed to. Okay, so I've got my Vampiric Brace going again. We get another raise right here, so we're going to the last platform. On this platform, things are a little bit different. So the people who have arrows on them have nowhere to go with these, right? You can't jump to the other platforms because they're all gone. So what you want to do, and this will happen on Mythic, but it does happen on Heroic, obviously. So what you want to do is everybody stands on, you can either do it on these two corners, so this one close to the center, or this one way over here on the end. Or you can do it on these two corners. So this is the one that I would prefer that we do it on. What you want to do is the whole raid stacks on this corner, and then the people with arrows on them go to the other side when the arrow is about to go off. So right here, we didn't have this planned. We usually kill this before the fourth platform, so we're not going to do it perfectly right here. But what you would want to do is, like I said, everybody stands over here. The first person with the arrow on them goes across. It hits them when they're over on the other corner. The reason you do that is because there's fall off damage. So if you're on the other corner, everybody else is going to take less damage than if you were right on top of everybody. So you take the arrow across, you get hit by it, and then you come back. Then the next person takes the arrow across, and you have to be fast. You can't just walk over there. If you're a Shadow Priest, you can't even just use Power Word Shield to get over there. You have to like Soul Shape Blink or Goblin Jump and Soul Shape Blink. You have to go really quickly. And then once you're over there, you can set up a Warlock Gateway for this too. That's what they do on Mythic. So if you're an AOTC guild or something, that's something I would suggest. Put a Warlock Gateway from about this corner to about that corner. And then the people with the arrows on them, the first person takes the gateway, gets hit, runs back. The second person takes the gateway, gets hit, runs back. Third person takes the gateway, gets hit, runs back, right? And then you can finish killing off the boss. So what you'll see is the second arrow, the first arrow goes off on Lasik. He's on this corner. This next one goes off over on this corner as well, and then they take the third one over to that corner. So we didn't do that perfectly. We had everybody kind of in the middle, but we were also kind of improvising that. But that's how you should do it. You want to take it over to a corner away from the raid, and then it hits and you come back into the raid. So that's the end of Sylvanas. Did 5.6k damage. Pretty good. Not bad, I think. But honestly, it's heroic Sylvanas, so it doesn't matter too much to me. Hopefully you guys liked this video. If you did, make sure you click the like button. If you really liked it, feel free to subscribe. Again, we're almost at 2,000 subscribers, so it could be you. You could be that lucky 2,000th subscriber. You won't win anything, but you'll make me happy. So if you're not subscribed and you like the videos, feel free to hit the subscribe button. It'd be super dope. Also, like I said at the beginning, I stream on Twitch. Usually just when we're raiding, but I'd like to start streaming more like during the day, doing Mythic Plus and stuff. So if you want to catch me on Twitch, feel free. There's a link in the description below as well. And then also I do have a Discord server if you want to ever, come chat with like-minded Shadow Priests. We have about 200 people in there. So if you've got questions about Shadow Priest or you want to talk to me about certain stuff, feel free to come join my Discord and send me a message or chat with the homies, right? We got a bunch of people in there. So that's going to be the end of this video. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace!